Dear learners, welcome to Learning with Fun. Once again, I warmly welcome you to the series of videos I have been discussing figures of speech or rhetorical expressions on. Today, I'll be having a discussion on two figures of speech, namely metonymy and synecdoche. So, without wasting a single second, let's get into it. Dear learners, before I make a start on these two figures of speech, I would just like to tell you a few things. Suppose you think of a soldier. What comes to your mind? Obviously it's a sword coming to your mind or your imagination. Nowadays it's a gun or the different types of it. Now the question is, why am I talking about a soldier or a sword? Am I talking nonsense? No, I'm not. What I'm trying to tell you is when we think of one thing or a person, we are reminded of the other with which the former object is associated. That means sometimes we say one thing but mean another thing. And there is a kind of association, a kind of relation between the things. Before I make a start, I would just like to tell you to be a little patient because the video is going to get a little lengthy. Because I'm trying to talk about each and every detail of these two figures of speech. And if you watch the video till the very end, I can make sure that there would be no confusion as far as these two figures of speech are concerned. Well, the first figure of speech we have is metonymy. Let's have a look at the definition. It's a figure in which the name of one thing is substituted for that of another with which it is loosely associated. These two words, loosely associated, are of paramount importance. These two words have to be kept in mind. Well, let's have a look at the trick I have done for you. The first point, one thing is named, another thing is meant. That means we say one thing but mean another thing. The second point goes, the relation between the things, the relation between the two things we mention is loose and separable. Let's have a look at the examples written over here. The crown will decide what is to be done. Here the word crown is mentioned, but we mean the king. And remember that the king can be separated or the crown can be separated from the king. Let's have a look at the second example. The bottle has ruined him. Here we mention the word bottle, but actually we want to mean the wine contained in it. And I have made it a little easier for you, and I have written these words: the crown, that means the king, and here the bottle, that means the drink or the wine contained in it. Now I would just like to have a look at the varieties of metonymy. Well, the first one is the place for its production. Here a place is mentioned, but we refer to the production or the productions of that particular place. Let's have a look at the example. The first one goes, all Arabia breathes from yonder box. This is a very famous line from the Rape of the Lock by Alexander Pope. And here the place Arabia is mentioned, but we refer to the perfumes made in that particular area. Well, the next example, oh for a breaker from warm south. Here south refers to the wine made in South Europe. The second type is the author or the maker for his work. The first example goes, I am reading Shakespeare. Here Shakespeare is mentioned, but his works are meant. Have you read Shakespeare? That means, have you read the writings, the dramas, or the poems written by Shakespeare? Well, the second example goes, she is wearing a cardigan. Here the word cardigan refers to the knitted woolen jacket made by Cardigan himself. Well, let's have a look at the third type of metonymy. The container for the thing contained. That means here we mention the container, but we want to refer to the thing contained in it. The first example goes, the kettle is boiling. Here we mention the word kettle, but we actually refer to the water boiling in it. Well, the next example. The entire auditorium welcomed the singer. Here the auditorium means the listeners in the auditorium. Here auditorium is mentioned, but its listeners are meant. Well, let's have a look at the next type of metonymy we have here. The passion for the object inspiring it. That means we name the passion, we talk about the passion, but we actually want to refer to the object inspiring the passion. Have you got it? The first example, Sachin Tendulkar is the glory of our country. Here glory means the object of glory. The second example is, he is a terror of our area. Here a terror means an object of terror. The fifth variety is the instrument or organ for the agent. That means here we name an instrument or an organ and we want to refer to the agent, the person who uses it. Let's have a look at the examples. The pen is mightier than the sword. A common proverb that we sometimes mention. Here the pen refers to the person who uses it. That means it refers to the writer. And the sword is used by a fighter, and here the word sword refers to the fighter. The next example, a smooth tongue wins favor. Here tongue refers to the speaker. Well, let's have a quick look at the sixth type of metonymy, which is the symbol or sign for the thing symbolized. Here a symbol or a sign is mentioned, but we want to refer to the thing symbolized. Let's have a look at the first example, which goes from the cradle to the grave. Here cradle refers to our infancy. Actually cradle is the piece of apparatus in which we spend a lot of time in our childhood, and that is why cradle refers to our infancy. And grave is the place where we all retire to at the end of our life. That is why grave refers to death. Let's have a quick look at the next example, which is the chair will decide. Here the chair refers to the president. Now we would just like to have the next variety of the figure of speech called metonymy. The cause for the effect. Here a cause is mentioned, but we actually want to refer to its effect. The first example goes, he writes a good hand. Here hand refers to handwriting. Actually here the hand is the cause and the effect of it is the writing. The next example, move him into the sun. Here the sun refers to its rays. Actually the sun is the cause and its rays are the effect. I think you have got it. The next type, which is the effect for the cause, is just the opposite of the previous one. The first example is gray hair must be respected. Here gray hair refers to old age. In fact, old age is the cause and gray hair being its effect. The next example, swiftly flies the feathered death. Here feathered death refers to the arrow with feathers. Now we would just like to have a look at the next type of figure, which is synecdoche. Let's have a look at the definition. It is a figure in which the name of one thing is substituted for that of another, with which it is intimately associated. Now these two words, intimately associated, are of paramount importance. These two words have to be kept in mind. Now let's have a look at the trick I have done for you. The first point is one thing is named, another thing is meant. It is just the same as the previous figure of speech, which is metonymy, but the second example is quite different from the previous figure of speech. Let's have a look at it. The relation between the things is intimate and inseparable. Let's have a look at the examples written over here. Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. Here, head refers to the king. And remember, the head cannot be separated from the king, and vice versa. The next example. Give us this day our daily bread. Here, bread refers to food. And remember, bread and food are inseparable. Now, we would just like to have a look at the varieties of synecdoche. The first type, a part for the whole. Here, a part is mentioned, but we want to refer to the whole. And it will be clear by looking at the first example. I need a roof to take shelter under. Here, roof is a part of the house, but actually we mention the word roof, but we actually refer to the whole, which is the house. The next example goes, there is a sail on the sea. Here, sail is a part of the ship, but by the word sail, we want to mean the ship, the whole. Well, the second type, it is just the opposite of the previous one. The whole for the part. Here, the whole is mentioned, but we want to refer to the part. Let's have a look at the example. India won the World Cup in 1983. Here, India has a lot of people living in it. But here, we want to mention just a part of it. It's India, its cricket team. Well, so the whole, which is India, is mentioned, but we want to refer to a part, just a cricket team of it. Got it? The next example. Cold greets the falling year. Here a whole year is mentioned, but here falling year refers to autumn, because this is the time when the leaves from the trees fall. Now, I would just like to have a quick move to the next variety of this figure, which is the concrete for the abstract. Here a concrete noun, that is a common noun, is used to refer to something abstract. Look at the first example, check the beast in you. Here the word beast is a common noun, but we want to refer to something abstract. We want to refer to the feelings of a beast. And the word feelings is an abstract noun. Look at the next example. The mother in her rose, seeing the helpless child. Here, the mother refers to the feelings of a mother. It refers to the motherly feelings instead of the mother. Well, let's move on to its next variety, which is the abstract for the concrete. Here, it is just the opposite of the previous one. The first example goes, she is a beauty. Here, beauty is an abstract noun. But instead of talking about something abstract, we want to refer to something concrete, which is a beautiful lady or a beautiful girl. The next example goes, youth is full of pleasure, age is full of care. Here, youth refers to a youthful person or a young person, whereas age refers to an aged person. Now, we will just move on to the next variety of this figure. which is an individual for the class. Here an individual or a person is mentioned, but we want to refer to a class. Look at the first example. Sachin Tendulkar is a Bradman of India. Here a Bradman refers to the class of talented cricketers like Bradman himself was. Well, the next example goes, he is a Shylock. Here a Shylock refers to a cruel moneylender like the one we have in The Merchant of Venice, written by Shakespeare. Now we would just move on to the next variety of Synecdoche, the material for the thing made. Here a material is mentioned, but we want to refer to the thing which is made of it. The first example goes, the prisoner was bound in iron. Here iron refers to the iron fetters, something which is made of or from iron. The next one, he was dressed in silk. Here silk refers to the silk clothes. Now we have two types of Synecdoche which are a little bit confusing. So I would just like to make it clearer by making a crystal clear discussion. Well, the first one is the species for the genus. Now the question comes, what a genus means? Now I have just written down a note in blue pen. You can just have a look at that. Genus refers to something larger. It refers to larger group of plants, animals, whereas the word species refers to a smaller one. If you remember this, I think there will be no confusion at all. Now let's have a look at the first example which is there. The first one goes, silver and gold I have none. Here silver and gold refers to the riches. Look at the next example of the genus for the species. Drink, pretty creature, drink. Here pretty creature refers to a lamb. Now I have just made a clarification to make the doubt clear. And what is the clarification? Silver and gold, it refers to riches, and silver and gold is a small part, but we want to refer to a large part which is riches. Actually riches means large amounts of money and valuable possessions. So it's a large part. Whereas the next example, creature, refers to a large group of animals, but instead of referring to large group of animals, here lamb is referred to, and this is just a small part. You can have the difference. I think it be clear for you. Okay, now we would just like to have a comparative study of these two figures of speech to make all doubts we have clear. The first one, we say one thing in the metonymy section, we say one thing and mean another. The same thing is followed in Synecdoche as well. The next point, there is a relation between the two, and the same is the case with Synecdoche as well. The third point which makes the difference clear is in the metonymy section we have the relation is loose and separable, and in the section of Synecdoche we have the relation which is intimate and inseparable. Thanks for watching.